Welcome back to Courtroom Conversations right here on the Classic Courtroom YouTube channel.
Hi, everyone.
Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe.
Yes.
So you never miss our deep dives into the most fascinating legal battles.
That's right.
I'm Dylan Brooks Hamilton.
And I'm Susan Kelly Ashford.
And as always, I'm with the incredible Susan Kelly Ashford to break it all down. All right, Susan.
Always a pleasure to be here, Dylan.
We've got a case today that's taken a pretty sharp turn.
Yeah.
We're talking about the defamation lawsuit, Marilyn Manson, Brian Warner, filed against Evan Rachel Wood. And the news just dropped that he's not just dropping the suit, he's paying her legal fees.
Wow.
After years of denying her abuse allegations, this move is, well, let's just say it's unexpected.
It is.
What's your take?
It's definitely a development that raises questions, Dylan. To really grasp the weight of this, we need to take a step back and look at the timeline.
Okay.
This story really begins in 2017 when Evan Rachel Wood first publicly alleged abuse, though she didn't initially name Manson.
Right. This was at the height of the Me Too movement.
Yes.
And she even testified before Congress on the issue in 2018.
Right. And it wasn't until 2020 that she specifically named Manson as her abuser.
Right.
In a pretty powerful Instagram post. Of course, by then, their relationship, which started back in 2007, was long over. They were briefly engaged in 2010.
Right.
But ultimately split.
Fast forward to 2022.
Okay.
And Manson files this explosive lawsuit alleging defamation.
Yeah.
And claiming that Wood's accusations were a calculated attempt to derail his career.
Right.
He even went as far as to say she was orchestrating a conspiracy, encouraging other women to make false claims against him.
And the details of that lawsuit were pretty wild.
Right.
He accused Wood and another woman artist, Ashley Gore, also known as Ilma Gore,
Right.
of some serious stuff, forging an FBI letter, circulating a checklist for accusers,
Wow,
hacking his accounts, and even swatting him. For those who don't know, swatting is basically making a false emergency call to get a SWAT team sent to someone's house. Pretty terrifying stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely. These were very serious allegations, and they definitely added a layer of complexity to an already sensitive situation. However, a judge ultimately dismissed the parts of the lawsuit that dealt with the alleged FBI letter and the checklist.
But here's where it gets really interesting. There's actually a separate, ongoing criminal investigation into Manson.
Yes.
Involving multiple women. And that investigation has been going on for almost 4 years now.
Yes, and that's important to keep in mind. Just recently, the LA County District Attorney's Office revealed that new evidence has surfaced.
Really?
So we're all waiting to see whether they'll decide to file charges against Manson. This case has been unfolding in stages for years.
It really has. So with this new evidence coming to light, and the threat of potential criminal charges still looming, why would Manson suddenly choose to drop the lawsuit now?
Well, his attorney has stated that he wants to, quote, close the door on this chapter of his life.
Okay.
But Evan Rachel Wood's attorney has a very different interpretation.
Oh, really?
Suggesting that the lawsuit was basically a publicity stunt designed to silence accusers and rehabilitate Manson's image. It really begs the question, which interpretation is closer to the truth?
Okay, but here's what I find most intriguing. Not only is Manson dropping the suit, he's agreed to pay almost $327,000 of Evan Rachel Wood's legal fees on top of the $130,000 he previously paid to settle with Ashley Gore. Does paying out like this suggest any admission of guilt? Or is it just a strategic maneuver to avoid a drawn-out legal battle?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's impossible to know for certain what's going on in Manson's mind, but it's definitely a significant financial commitment. And it does make you think about the power dynamics at play.
And what about the potential impact of this case on the Me Too movement? I mean, these accusations against such a high-profile figure have been in the public eye for years now. Could this outcome set a precedent for future cases?
It's hard to say for sure, Dylan. This case has definitely captured a lot of attention, but we need to remember that it's just one case and every situation is unique.
That's true. But this case hasn't played out in a vacuum. We know that other women have come forward with accusations against Manson. Actress Esme Bianco, known for her role in Game of Thrones, has publicly stated that she's part of that ongoing criminal investigation and has been vocal about her frustration with how long it's taking. She settled her own lawsuit against Manson last year. So what does all this mean for the other accusers who are still waiting for some kind of resolution?
Well, for one thing, it shows that law enforcement is taking these accusations seriously. 4 years is a long time for an investigation to be ongoing, and the fact that new evidence is still emerging suggests they're being very thorough.
It's interesting, though, right? We have the situation where a judge dismissed parts of Manson's lawsuit.
Hmm.
There's a criminal investigation still underway, and he's agreed to pay significant settlements to both Evan Rachel Wood and Ashley Gore. Yet at the same time, he drops the lawsuit and claims he just wants to move on. These actions seem kind of contradictory, don't they?
They do, and that's where things get really nuanced. We have to be careful not to jump to conclusions about guilt or innocence based solely on these legal maneuvers. Remember, the legal system is incredibly complex, and the outcome of a case doesn't always align with public perception or even what we might think of as common sense.
So you're saying we shouldn't read too much into Manson's decision to drop the lawsuit and pay these settlements?
Exactly. It may be tempting to interpret those actions as some kind of admission of guilt, but that's not necessarily the case. There could be a whole range of strategic reasons behind his decisions.
Like what?
Well, for instance, he may simply want to avoid the time expense and public scrutiny that would come with a prolonged legal battle. Or perhaps he believes that settling these lawsuits is the most effective way to minimize further damage to his reputation and career.
So even though he's paying up, it doesn't automatically mean he's admitting to any wrongdoing.
That's right. And it's crucial to remember that we're talking about civil lawsuits here, not criminal charges. The standard of proof is different in each case, and the outcomes don't carry the same weight. In a civil case, the plaintiff, in this case Evan Rachel Wood, only has to prove their case by a preponderance of the evidence, meaning it's more likely than not that the defendant is liable.
And what about in a criminal case?
In a criminal case, the prosecution has a much higher burden. They have to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, which is a much more difficult standard to meet.
So in Manson's case, even if he loses these civil lawsuits, he could still be found not guilty in a criminal trial.
Absolutely. The outcomes of civil and criminal cases are completely independent of each other.
That's a really important distinction. Thanks for clarifying that, Susan. So where does this leave us? This whole legal saga is full of unanswered questions and speculation. What are the key takeaways our listeners should keep in mind as this story continues to unfold?
Well, first and foremost, we need to remember that real people are at the center of this story, and their experiences deserve to be treated with respect and sensitivity. Second, we have to avoid jumping to conclusions based on incomplete information or legal maneuvering. The criminal investigation is still ongoing, and it's important to let that process play out.
And finally, what about the bigger picture here? What does this case tell us about the Me Too movement, the challenges of holding powerful figures accountable, and the complexities of navigating accusations of abuse?
These are questions that resonate far beyond this particular case, aren't they, Dylan? This case, like so many others in the Me Too era, highlights the power imbalances that often exist in these situations. It underscores the courage it takes for survivors to come forward and share their stories, and it reminds us of the importance of listening to and believing survivors.
It also raises questions about due process, the presumption of innocence, and the potential for false accusation.
Exactly. And these are complex issues that we as a society need to continue to grapple with. There are no easy answers.
This case is like peeling back layers of an onion, and with each layer we find more complexity.
That's a great analogy, Dylan. It really captures the multifaceted nature of this case and the broader issues it raises. We have these individual stories intertwined with legal proceedings, social movements, and questions of power, fame, and accountability. It's a lot to unpack.
It really is. For our listeners who are just joining us or need a quick recap, let's go back to the beginning and retrace the key events in this legal drama.
Okay, let's break it down step by step. In 2017, Evan Rachel Wood, who was in a relationship with Marilyn Manson from 2007 to 2010, publicly revealed that she had been abused in a previous relationship, but she didn't name Manson at that time. Then in 2020, at the height of the Me Too movement, she publicly named Manson as her abuser in an Instagram post alleging years of horrific abuse.
And that's when things really blew up. In 2022, Manson fired back with a defamation lawsuit, denying the allegations and claiming that Wood was trying to destroy his career. He even accused her and Ashley Gore of engaging in a conspiracy to discredit him. He alleged some pretty shocking stuff, like forging an FBI letter, creating a checklist for accusers, hacking his accounts, and even swatting him.
Right. But a judge later dismissed the parts of the lawsuit that focused on the alleged FBI letter and the checklist. Meanwhile, a separate criminal investigation into Manson involving multiple women, including Esme Bianco, has been ongoing for almost 4 years. And just recently, new evidence has surfaced in that investigation, leaving everyone wondering whether charges will be filed.
And then just when we thought things couldn't get any more complicated, Manson suddenly drops the lawsuit against Wood and agrees to pay nearly $327,000 of her legal fees, on top of the $130,000 he already paid to settle with Ashley Gore.
It's a move that has left legal experts and the public alike scratching their heads, trying to figure out what it all means. Is it a sign of guilt, a strategic retreat, or something else entirely?
And that's precisely what we're trying to unravel here on Courtroom Conversations. So we're left with this tangled web, and everyone's trying to decipher what Manson's actions really mean. Has the power dynamic shifted? Is Evan Rachel Wood in a stronger position now?
It's hard to say for sure, Dylan, without having access to all the behind-the-scenes details, but from what we can see, it certainly appears that Wood has gained the upper hand. The fact that key parts of the lawsuit were dismissed and Manson's willingness to pay these substantial settlements could indicate a change in strategy on his part.
What are the potential implications for the Me Too movement? This case has been so public, and the outcome could send a message to other survivors and those accused of abuse.
It's true, this case has been under a microscope, and its impact on the broader conversation around Me Too is significant. On the one hand, it shows that even powerful figures can be held accountable, that the legal system can be used to challenge abuse, and that persistence can pay off. Wood's willingness to stand her ground and fight for her truth is inspiring to many.
But it also reveals the immense challenges survivors often face when coming forward.
Absolutely. This case has been dragging on for years, and it's taken a huge emotional and financial toll on everyone involved. The fact that new evidence is still emerging in the criminal investigation after 4 years highlights just how difficult it can be to gather evidence and build a strong case in these situations. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
This case really underscores how complex and nuanced these situations are. There's no easy black and white answer.
Exactly. And it forces us to ask some tough questions as a society. How do we balance the rights of the accused with the needs of survivors? How do we ensure fairness and due process while also creating a space where survivors feel safe to come forward? These aren't easy questions to answer.
What should we be looking out for as this case moves forward? What are the key developments to watch?
The most crucial development, of course, is the outcome of the ongoing criminal investigation. Will charges be filed against Manson based on the new evidence? And if so, how will that case proceed? That's where the real legal battle is likely to play out.
It feels like this roller coaster ride is far from over.
I think you're right, Dylan. This case has been full of twists and turns, and there are likely more surprises in store.
We'll be here on Courtroom Conversations, dissecting each new development and providing in-depth analysis every step of the way. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the Classic Courtroom channel so you never miss an episode. And be sure to let us know your thoughts on this developing case down in the comments.
And to all of you following this case, remember, justice is a journey, not a destination.
This is Dylan Brooks Hamilton, signing off for now, but always ready for the next deep dive into the world of law and order. See you next time.